Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala on Biophysics. I am Professor Dhananjay Bhattacharya of Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics. Presently I am Head of Computational Science Division, but before that I was in Biophysics Division for about 15 years. Now in this series of lecture on quantum biophysics, you are learning what is quantum mechanics, how it is applicable for understanding the electronic spectra of hydrogen atom, then how it is used to predict energy or function or structure of a small molecule by using the nucleus and electrons. Now in case of macromolecules like protein, nucleic acid, or macromolecular complexes like histone DNA complex, you have to consider huge number of atoms. These number of atoms often exceed 10,000 or sometimes 100,000 also. Then you need to consider the surrounding solvent molecules such as water, sometimes counter ions. So the total number of atoms can exceed a million. Now in these cases, you cannot consider all the electrons surrounding these atoms, around these atoms. So we have to consider a reduced representation of all the atoms only. So these atoms then define the potential energy. We can optimize the structure to get the structure corresponding to the lowest potential energy, that is the energy minimization process. But these energy minimized structures correspond to a structure at 0 Kelvin temperature, because the lowest energy means that 0 Kelvin temperature. But in a macromolecule like protein, there are several other conformations also possible. Now, whatever lowest energy minimized conformation we have obtained from an initial guess of structure, that may not correspond to the actual lowest energy conformation. Because if we start from a structure, we will lead to a minima closest to that energy initial structure, that becomes a local energy minimum. In case of protein or macromolecule, we may need to go to the global energy minimum, and that global energy minimum conformation can be obtained from starting from a different starting point. So we can in principle do a grid search to obtain several initial guess conformations and then do several minimizations, and in some cases we may get a local global energy minimum. But this grid search has to be increased more and more, and so that it may not be a possible solution. So in that case, our getting the global energy minimum becomes difficult. But sometimes this global energy minimum conformation also corresponds to 0 Kelvin temperature, which may not be our interest, because we are trying to understand the structure, function, dynamics of the molecule at a physiological temperature, where there are lot of kinetic energy associated with all these atoms. This kinetic energy means the atoms are fluctuating, they have a natural vibration, and these vibrations of kinetic energy gives rise to the kinetic energy. Now kinetic energy plus potential energy, these two terms has to be considered together, and this will give us the actual thermodynamic situation where the molecule will scan through different conformations, starting from one minima, go to another minima, maybe going to another third minima, and so on. And all these has to be considered together to get the thermodynamic average conformation, or the properties of the molecules in thermodynamic situation at a physiological temperature. So in this lecture, we will try to learn what is the thermodynamic principle, how that allows us to scan all these molecule conformations in different states, and that will give us the best measure of the biochemical properties. So objective of this present lecture is to observe local energy minimization, then we will try to find out global energy minimization, and then we will see the difficulty in finding global energy minimized conformation, and then we will discuss about possibility of structure not being in energy minimized conformation at all, and then we will go to thermodynamics and statistical mechanical treatments to obtain more meaningful properties of the biomolecules. So we have seen these biomolecular interaction, this force field method for calculation of energy, potential energy of a molecule. So we have bond stretching constant, bond angle bending constants, then torsional energy, then van der Waals interaction or Lennard-Jones potential, and the Coulomb interaction. These interactions all together describe the properties of the molecule, and then different conformations of the molecules will have obviously different potential energy. Now, if we try to minimize the potential energy from any structure which is somewhere in between these regions, and then we will obviously be able to reach the potential energy minima without much difficulty. But this is a simple energy landscape where there is only single energy minimized conformation, or there is only single energy minimum. In case of energy minimization, we can start from any conformation, and then we can go to the local energy minimum, which is very simple, like falling a ball from the downhill of mountain. So if we fall a ball, ball will obviously go to the lowest point and then rest there. If we fall the ball from the left, it will come to the same point, as well as if we fall the ball from the right. But in case of biomolecules, there are multiple energy minimas. For example, the simple system of 2,2-dibromoethane, there are 3 minimas, one located near 60 degree, one located near 180 degree, one located near 270 degree. And if we start minimization from say 10 degree, we will reach the 60 degree energy minimum. If we start the minimization of this molecule from say 130 degree, we will reach the 150 degree energy minimized conformation. And similarly, if we start somewhere from 350 degree or 250 degree, we will reach the 270 degree energy minimized or 300 degree energy minimized conformation. These systems are having potential energy minimas. But in realistic case, in a macromolecule, biological macromolecule, there are many minimas as shown in this picture. So if we start from any of these points, we will reach the local energy minimum. And so the problem is which minimas to consider. We can think of another example of falling a ball down the hill. Now in mountain, there are not only one bottom, but there are many bottoms. So if we fall the ball from a point close to one local energy minima, this point will come near, the ball will come and stop at this point. But if we let the ball fall from a more height, such as this position, then the ball will reach this bottom and then it will have sufficient kinetic energy to drop at this point, make a rebound, and then continue its motion down to the next position. And so it will reach the next bottom of the hill and reside there. Same thing is true if I drop a ball from the right side. So if I fall the ball from the right side, little high from the energy minimized conformation or local energy minima conformation somewhere here, then the ball will stop at this point. But if I let the ball fall from this point, then it will gather sufficient energy to rebound here and then cross this barrier to reach at this point. So this kind of situation is very common in biology. So we'll discuss about those. Supposing we do not have a hill, suppose we have a flat surface, such as a surface made of ice. So in that case, if I throw a ball, for example this ball, then it will go run for a while and then stop when its kinetic energy exhausted. but this is on a flat surface, perfectly flat surface. In a rough surface, if I throw a ball with similar velocity, the ball will go and then reach a point where there is a potential energy minima, or there is a bottom hill kind of thing. So it will stop there. But if we throw the ball with a larger velocity, then it may go cross that barrier and move further down. So if I make several observations and then try to measure the average distance covered by the ball, and in all the observations I throw the ball with the same velocity, then we will obviously find out the average distance covered is summation of the distances measured in every throwing ball and then number of the measurements. So this is the average distance covered in case of a ball thrown on a rough surface. But we know, it can be proved also, that probability of the atoms in a system, in a gas or in any system, is not constant. The probability as given by rho varies on velocity of the system. It also varies on the temperature of the system. So if there is a high temperature, then many atoms or particles will have high velocities. If the temperature is low, then most of the atoms will have small velocities, but the velocities will not be fixed. They will be distributed along a curve. So in this way, there will be some atoms with always very small, close to zero velocities, and some atoms with very large velocities. So you see this curve reaches zero asymptotically. That means at actually infinite distance, infinite velocity, there will be no atom corresponding to that. But in any velocity, any measurable velocity, there will be some atoms, whatever large the velocity is. Probability of the atoms having large velocities, very large velocity, will be obviously very small. Probability of the atoms having medium velocities will be quite large. So this distribution was derived by Maxwell and Boltzmann. So this is called Maxwell-Boltzmann velocity distribution, which is applicable to any system in biological or in cellular environment or even in normal gaseous situation. So if the velocities are distributed according to Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution, that means some atoms will have zero velocity, some atoms will have very large velocity, and most of the atoms will have an average velocity, close to an average velocity. And since velocities are related to kinetic energy, we can also say kinetic energy will be also distributed like that. Now kinetic energy, or half mv square, is again related to the temperature of the system. So we can say that velocities also give rise to temperature. Now obviously if the kinetic energy is small, velocity is small, in that case the atoms or the particles will be able to cross smaller barriers as shown by the black arrow. Now velocities are related to kinetic energy as given by this expression, that kinetic energy is equal to half mv square. And then again kinetic energy is related to the temperature. You see half mv square, where v square is averaged over all the atoms in the system, is related to 3/2 kBT, where k is the Boltzmann constant and T is the absolute temperature. Now if the velocities are small, that is if the kinetic energy is small, in that case we will have this atom or this particle will be able to cross a very small barrier as shown by the black arrow. If the kinetic energy is large, it may cross a larger energy barrier as shown by the red arrow. Now since velocity is not constant in a biological system or in a cell, there will be different velocities. So within the same system, some atoms or particles will be able to cross smaller velocities, smaller energy hills, and some particles will be able to cross larger energy hills. both at the same system. Now, we can assume that this equivalent to this, that if I have kinetic energy small, shown by the violet broken line, then smaller velocity or smaller energy hills will be able to cross. If the kinetic energy is slightly large, as shown by the blue broken line, then larger energy barriers will be able to cross, and so on. And if the kinetic energy is very high, as shown by the maroon broken line, in that case it will be able to cross most of the energy barriers. Now, I told about velocities are not uniform. All the velocities of a system are not same. So if I throw many balls with different velocities, eventually they will cover some distance on a rough surface, and we know that biological molecules have rough potential energy or rugged potential energy landscape, and so the average distance covered by these balls with different velocities will be like this. So most of the balls will be able to come to this region. Some balls will have very small velocities. They will not be able to cross any barrier, or it will remain near the initial starting point. Some atoms will have very large velocities, which will go very far apart, far from the initial throwing point. And so these population of balls, how far they went, that depends, or that will follow a Boltzmann distribution. So considering different properties of the atoms, whether all the atoms have same velocities or all the atoms have different velocities, we can consider two types of situations. One is called microcanonical ensemble, where all the atoms have identical velocities or identical kinetic energies. In that case, we can calculate the total or average parameter. It can be energy, or it can be any other parameters such as hydrogen bond length, by the number of observation of the energies, and then summing over by dividing by the number of observations. So if we do a qi summation qi by n, then we can calculate the average parameter in microcanonical ensemble, where everything is identical. But most of the situations we deal with are in canonical ensemble, a system in thermal equilibrium with the environment. In that case, we can calculate the average property as probability into probability of having that microstate and the property in that microstate. So probability is again explained in terms of these. There is the derivation of this probability is beyond the scope of the study, scope of this quantum biophysics course, but it can be derived. And so we have at present two situations. One is called microcanonical ensemble, another is called canonical ensemble. Let us discuss what are microcanonical and what are canonical. So supposing you take a glass of tea and you want to drink the tea after some time. In that case, you keep the tea in a thermostat or in a thermoflask where the temperature remains constant. The thermoflask is made of some non-conducting material as shown in this situation. So in this case, the temperature cannot rise or decrease. So all the velocities, all the atoms of the tea will be having same temperature. And in that case, the kinetic energy will be average, will be equal to actually mv square. V is constant. So we can calculate the average parameter from that. Now, in the other example, we can consider a set of rasgullas kept in a earthen pot, and this can be considered as open system. We know that if we keep the rasgullas on an earthen pot for a long time, the syrup, the sugar syrup will be dried up. These rasgullas will be affected by the bacteria and so on, and so it will go bad. But we can keep the rasgulla in a insulated can. These cans are metallic cans which can conduct heat, but it will not allow any external particle to come in. we can keep the Rasgulla safely within this can for maybe 6 months. But there are problems. If we keep the Rasgulla in a fridge, in a refrigerator, the Rasgullas will take the temperature of the refrigerator. If we keep it in the deep fridge, the Rasgullas will be frozen because the temperature inside the can also will be -4 degree. If we keep the Rasgulla inside the normal fridge, in the bottom part of the fridge, then the Rasgulla will be stable there, or it will assume the temperature of say 20 degree as set by the user. On the other hand, if we carry the Rasgulla by a flight and it goes at the bottom of the flight, which part is not maintained by air conditioner, in that case the Rasgulla can attain a temperature of -40 degree also. But if we want to eat the Rasgulla, we have to keep the Rasgulla on a table so that the temperature becomes say bearable, say 25 degree, and then we can eat the Rasgulla. So this can allows the temperature of the Rasgulla to adopt the temperature of the surrounding. So this way the ensemble of the particles within the can follows a canonical ensemble. So the atoms will adopt the temperature of the surrounding, but it will remain constant at that as long as the temperature of the surrounding is fixed. So in that case, the probability will be dictated, probability of each of the atoms in the Rasgulla will be dictated by temperature and energy. So if temperature is high, there will be different energies, and corresponding to energy, the probability will be there. So in this case, if I have a rugged energy landscape, there will be some deeper minima. In the deep minima, the probability will be high, very high. There will be some smaller minimas where the probability will be medium. There will be some energy hills which will have very low probability, and some higher energy hills which may have even lower energy probability. But all these are having finite probability. So this, we cannot say that this is the only probable structure and this is not the probable structure, or this is not improbable structure. All these have definite probabilities. And so we can calculate the thermodynamic properties. In microcanonical ensemble, we do simple averaging. In a canonical ensemble, we do a weighted averaging considering the probability of each of these states. And the probability, as shown earlier, as exponential minus e by kt divided by summation of exponential minus e by kt. This denominator has a special meaning. This denominator is called partition function, and this partition function has several other properties. We can calculate different thermodynamic parameters from the partition function, such as we can calculate average energy from the partition function as d of ln z log to the base e z by d beta, where beta is kBt. Or we can calculate energy variance as second derivative of log z with respect to beta. We can calculate the specific heat at constant volume as dE by dt, which comes to average energy variance divided by kT square. We can calculate entropy from probability and multiplied by log of probability, or k ln z plus beta average E, or d dt of kt ln z. We can calculate Helmholtz free energy, which is equivalent to A, which is A equal to summation of energy minus Ts, or equal to minus kt ln z. So all these parameters can be calculated by considering the partition function, which is the denominator, or which is equivalent to summation of e to the power minus ei by kBt. And then we can calculate average property, obviously using the probability. So when we calculate the average property, the Q, average Q, we'll have some contribution, or we'll have maximum greatest contribution from the deepest energy minima. It will have some contribution from the deep energy minimas, medium contribution from the smaller energy minimas, and also it will have some small contribution from the energy hills. All these, since all these conformations are probable conformations. Probability is more or less depending on the energy. We have another system actually which is called Grand Canonical Monte Carlo ensemble, and really the cellular system is made of Grand Canonical ensemble, because in cellular system there are some particles which can go in or go out. For example, from the cells we know there are some proteins which make the channels, and the channels and ions or other molecules like carbohydrates, the food of the cell, they can enter through the channels. And so this can be considered equivalent to a system like a bird in a cage. So you know that the bird cannot come out of the cage, but we can put food into the cage, flies can go into the cage, and also some other things like water and etc. which can go into the cage. Something cannot come out of the cage also. So the realistic situation which we need to discuss also later, that is the Grand Canonical ensemble, where the partition function can be expressed as exponential minus e plus n mu. Mu is called chemical potential and n is the number of particles going in or out of the system. So we can then find out the probability and then do the averaging in the Grand Canonical ensemble situation. So in this lecture we have learned that there are various local minimas even in small molecule like dibromoethane, and such local minimas are many in number in actually a big protein or a multi-protein complex or a protein ligand complex. And so if we want to study all these local energy minimas individually, there is no end to this. And if we can do a statistical analysis, that means statistical mechanical analysis or statistical thermodynamic analysis, then we can consider all these in principle and then get the average structure, average property, average hydrogen bond length, and etc. etc. So we will be using these methods to find that what is the thermodynamic properties of these molecules, these protein or protein ligand complex, etc. in a biological environment, suitable for in a biological environment. And so we will be learning in these next lectures how to apply these and how to get these statistically meaningful thermodynamic properties in a biological molecule. Thank you very much.